guys, welcome to another recap of Amazing Race. It's the second episode. They were in Bora Bora, and Bora Bora, they're gonna stay. They had to take a water taxi to this wedding chapel, but the water taxi didn't leave until 7:30 a.m. So the penalized teams that lost 4 hours last week, now they're really only behind by like an hour and a half. So Jessica and John, you might remember, won the double express pass. So Dave and Connor, the father and son, approached them and they were like, you're gonna honor your deal, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, basically, yes, but we want to keep it a secret. And if you talk about it, the deal is off. They want the other teams to think that they still need to suck up to them. I guess I can't blame them, but at least they're planning on honoring their deal, which is honorable. Next stop, detour at the wedding chapel, which was really weird because when they got to the wedding chapel, it almost seemed like they were getting married. They kind of like put their hands together. Really weird, but they said it was just a travel blessing. So the detour was searching the Pacific, either picking a pearl or taking a trunk. If you had if you chose pick a pearl, you had to harvest pearls from the ocean. They had them on a string like they were real pearls, real oysters, but they were empty oysters that were doctored up. You had to find 2 of the red ones. Not that there was any white ones in there, that you just had to find the 2 red ones. So take a trunk was you had to dive for a trunk with a diver's helmet on and reconstruct an underwater dinner scene, which was actually kind of cool. So the dad and the son, Dave and Connor, they didn't read the clue. They bonered, and not in a good way. They had to go back and get their diving gear because if they had read the clue, they would have seen that you had to get it before you got on the water taxi to go to the detour. So the roller derby moms were the only ones in the beginning who decided to take trunk. And Jamil and Idris, they were having a lot of trouble on the pearl one. They were both afraid of the water, but mostly Jamil. So Idris asked him, you know, we got to try, we got to do this, you know. They didn't want to take the penalty because that would have been 6 hours. So they tried, but it was so pathetic. They were going down, instead of getting a whole string of the oysters, they went and they got 1 at a time. It was so pathetic. Finally, they gave up and they decided to switch to the trunk one. And also the penalty people, the 2 girls and the newlyweds, decided that they were both going to do the trunk one. So after the trunk one was, you had to swim over to the jet ski and use this little map on like a washcloth basically to go to the most photographed island in the South Pacific, which is Motu Tapu. And Pam and Winnie got lost. I can really feel for them because I've been out on a sailboat in the ocean. And once you get out like a mile, everything starts to look the same. It all starts to look like horizon with no land anywhere. So scary because you don't know what direction. They didn't have a compass. You don't know what direction to go. It's really confusing, especially with the sun shining down and creating mirages on the water. It's really, really no joke. So the next roadblock was stilts. You had to get up on the stilts and kick a coconut 35 feet. But if you fell off the stilts, you had to go back to the beginning. But the coconut could stay where it was. They didn't have to reset the coconut. It was pretty challenging for these people because you didn't just do it on asphalt. You had to do it in the sand, which is really difficult. So at the pit stop, Bates and Anthony made it in first. They won a trip for 2 to London. But Dave and Connor were kind of in a foot race with them, and Dad pushed it a little bit too much because he ruptured his Achilles tendon right when they got to the pit stop. And it was kind of weird because he's like, I ruptured my Achilles. And then the son looked at him and he was like, are you okay? No, he just said he ruptured his Achilles. He should know. That was kind of weird. But then Jessica and John, they were pretty close behind too. They came in third. Then Joey and Megan. Joey had a little trouble with the coconut as well. A lot of people did. But not Chuck. Chuck and Winona came in 5th. And Chuck busted through that coconut thing. He works at Walmart. he has to run up and down the aisles all the time. So it was no thing for Chuck. Then Mona and Beth in 6th. In 7th, Caroline and Jennifer. Caroline busted through that pretty quickly too. She beat out Max. Max had a little bit of trouble. I cannot even look at Max and Katie. I can't hear them. Their voices are so creepy. They're two snakes in the grass. They came in 8th. Ugh. 9th place, Pam and Winnie. They had a really tough time too. One of them was bleeding all over the stilts. Well, the one who was doing it, I don't remember whether it was Pam or Winnie, but she had some massive blisters. And Idris and Jamil, their theme for this episode was "Don't Give Up." I have to admire them for that. They didn't give up, but they were still eliminated. Poor guys. They tried, you know? They were afraid of the water. Next time, Dave actually did rupture his Achilles, or so they said. Who knows with the edits on this show. I don't know if they're out or not, or whether he's going to try and do it on crutches. But they're going to New Zealand. I see Mordor in your future. Till next time, much love.